Thank you everyone for coming along, and obviously thank you to our speakers this afternoon, and of course for Richard, who'll be joining us afterwards. So as a bit of a background, bit of a story behind this event and this series of events. Firstly, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Barry Cranford. I'm the founder of the London Java community, and I also run RecWorks, which is a tech recruitment company. So here at RecWorks, we try to find ways that recruitment can be a force for good in the tech industry beyond just getting jobs. And that's largely around community building, learning, development, mentoring, that kind of thing. And it all came about when I found myself speaking to Java developers in London, all Java developers in London, every day, asking if they were looking for work. And obviously, I'm sure most of you on this call have had that situation where you've got a recruiter calling you, you're not looking for work, and you really don't want to talk to them. And I just found myself thinking it was frustrating, and could we use all this time that I was putting in to do something better? And so that idea led to a bunch of experimentation, which led to the LJC and the last 12 years of what we've been doing, really. And I think that the best way I've found to describe what we do is career hacking. So we use our position as connectors between everyone to bring people together to help you learn, help you develop your careers, and that kind of thing in ways that we discover can really help. So this event is a direct example of that. And in fact, Richard as well is a huge example of this. I've been in the LJC for what, 12, 13 years, and I've watched so many people go from a sort of senior developer level into keynote speaker level, and just seen the careers just skyrocket, and both in terms of success and the money that comes with that, but loads of other benefits as well. So being able to choose the jobs that you want, being able to step into a contracting role, travel the world as a teacher, meet with kindred spirits and other people like that. And so it's just this little hack that like 1% of people in tech do, but my word, it can completely change your career. So anyway, so that's kind of what we're about here at RecWorks. We try and do this career hacking stuff, and that's why we're running this event in particular, because we want more people to benefit from that. It's all based out of a group we call Aspiring Speakers. If you're not currently a member of that group, you're more than welcome to join. You don't have to speak. If you want to speak next year or in the long-term future, you're still welcome to join and just soak it all up. Anyway, it's all powered. Everything we do is powered by recruitment. So we get paid for getting people jobs, and that's it. We don't make any money from anything else. And a part of that money then goes back into driving these efforts. So if you want to hear more about our work, then please do look us up on LinkedIn. I'm just going to hand over shortly to Qaiser. Just before I do, one thing I will say, please give feedback generously. Getting into speaking and starting speaking, it's so useful to have feedback, to know how you're doing and how you're received by the people. So Dom will send out a form after Qaiser's talk. If you could please just add any points that you think Qaiser did well and that kind of thing, that'd be really, really useful. So Qaiser, if you're ready and all set, I'll hand over then on 3 benefits to mentoring others.
Great, thank you. I've got some slides that I'd like to share, if that's all right. Perfect. Okay, excellent. Can you guys see my deck? Great. Okay, excellent. So yeah, as Barry mentioned, my name's Qaiser, and I wanted to talk to you about 3 benefits to mentoring others. I think when it comes to mentoring relationships, some people might be thinking that the major benefit is just to the mentee, but I strongly believe that mentors should benefit significantly from the relationship too. And I wanted to share just a few of the ways that I have seen myself. And these aren't all of the ways, there are many others, but these are just a few that I wanted to share with you to begin with. So benefit 1, validating and improving your knowledge. So typically when it comes to mentoring relationships, if you are planning to be a mentor and haven't taken that leap yet, you might be thinking, well, I need to be an absolute expert before I become a mentor. How am I going to add any value to someone else if I don't know everything about a potential job or a particular role or particular language? And I actually think a great way to improve your knowledge and understanding is to share it with others. And when I first started my career, one of the first things that someone taught me was about your knowledge windows. So there's things that you know, And these are really easy to impart with others. They're in the front of mind, or they're tools or techniques or skills or bits of information that you use all the time. And so sharing that with others just strengthens that knowledge, and shows you as a mentor that this stuff is still applicable, and it's applicable for other people that experience different things compared to what you do. And then it also forces you to start researching things that you know that you don't know. So, you know, if a mentee has a bit of a challenge in a particular area and you want to help them through that, or talk them through your experience, it can sometimes highlight things that, you know, you knew that you didn't know, but you didn't need to find out a bit more about. But actually, now that there's someone else that's got a challenge in that space, it might force you to do some research in there, and improve your knowledge. So then there's another area which I feel like gets more valuable. So when you don't know what you don't know, so it enlightens you, and it highlights blind spots that you might have had that you've never encountered because you haven't had the same challenges as this person, or the domain that person works in has thrown up a challenge that you've never had to deal with because you work in other domains. And then don't know what you don't know. And this is where, you know, you do have a bit of expert knowledge, or you've worked in an industry for such a long time that what you know is so second nature to you that you forgot that you know these things, and you feel like everyone knows these things and they're really easy, and you know, it should be common sense for everyone. But actually, it's just because you've done it for such a long time that you feel like it's common sense. And so it validates your knowledge, and it potentially might spur you on to update your knowledge as well, because you know, this person might be applying it in a different environment to you, or they might not have access to the same tools that you use on a day-to-day basis, or your industry uses. And so you might then be forced to look for even better ways to do some of the stuff that you've been doing for the past 10 or 20 years, or however long. So that's benefit one. Benefit two, learning about other domains and challenges. So I touched on it in the previous benefit, but it's a really great way, mentoring is a really great way to understand domains other than the ones that you've worked in. So, you know, if you've had a longer career and you've worked in different places, you know, you're only one person. You can't work in every domain and every industry out there. So, you know, mentoring others and learning about, you know, the challenges that they have, learning about the domains that they work in, can give you insights to ideas that might translate to your domains and the places that you work in. So actually, there's a real big benefit about learning about other industries that are unrelated to industries that you work in, or domains that you work in, because there's ideas that percolate in one industry as you know, really well-known common sense, but has never ever been applied to another industry. So learning about those other domains is definitely a big benefit that I personally have seen as well. And then every challenge is unique. So hearing about a mentee's challenges can add to your experience as well. So you would learn about, you know, how these challenges occurred, what were the indicators, what has this person tried so far, and what might they try next. So learning about them is almost living through those challenges yourself. So, you know, you can add that experience to your bucket and or to your toolbox. And learning about other challenges helps you to spot patterns and head off your own challenges quicker, or to prevent them to begin with as well. So definitely feel like the more you hear about real world challenges, and you know, you're there through that journey to understand how that person got on, you know, is another tool potentially for your toolbox. And then finally, benefit number three, enjoying the success of mentees. So I've had quite a few different mentoring relationships. They vary in duration, so some of them are only short term, but some of them last multiple years. And you know, being in those longer term relationships, you know, I've seen mentees overcome the challenge that they originally talked to me about, and that was really rewarding. Seeing them tackle new challenges with more experience and more confidence has been really rewarding as well. And just, you know, seeing them get promoted by, you know, overcoming some of the challenges that they had, or some of the bits that they, you know, that they raised with you, is really nice to see. And seeing them move on to other jobs and other titles in different industries, it's just really nice to have this insight into someone else's experience, and being a part of it. So, really rewarding to see the growth of others. If you're a manager or not, I feel personally that I really enjoy investing in the development of others and helping others. And I am a manager, but being a mentor gives you access to supporting other people when you might not be in a manager position. So those are the three things that I wanted to talk to you today. I'll leave you with a bit of a thought experiment to think about other ways that you might benefit from being a mentor in a mentoring relationship if you want a mentor already, and even if you are thinking about how you benefit from it and the mentee benefiting too. And I just wanted to leave with any questions that anyone might have.
That was timed immaculately. That finished on 7. I'm watching the count now. That was brilliant. Thanks, Qaiser.
Excellent.
Does anyone have any questions then for Qaiser on mentoring or his experiences or the presentation?
I've got one.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Cesar.
Just wondering what, when you started mentoring, what were the mistake that you made as a mentor and what you learned from them?
Great question. I think the earliest mistakes I made was I felt like I needed to have all the answers, and I was there to kind of, be this unending, knowledge resource for this person. And actually, it's not. The mentoring relationship is mostly about listening and really understanding, and sometimes even slipping into coaching and asking them how they might go about solving a problem. And actually, a lot of the early parts of my relationships in mentoring were based around problems, and actually sometimes people just need a sounding board, or they might not have a problem and they just want to have this relationship with someone else that might be a bit further along in their career. So I think my major kind of learning at the start was that it's not about problem solving, it's about relationship building and providing support for that person through their career.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Does that answer your question, Cesar?
It does, yeah. Thank you.
Perfect.
I mean, it's an open-ended question, but yeah, it's a good answer.
In fact, I know Dom's going to post a link to the feedback, but it might be worth posting a link to Meet a Mentor as well. If anybody is not a member of Meet a Mentor and would like to mentor others or would like to be connected to a mentor, we can take care of that. So we have this service. I think we've made coming up to 3,000 personal one-to-one introductions. It's all free, and it's just something that I love mentoring. Talked about it before, and I thought that was a really interesting way of describing it with the things that you don't know, and all that kind of thing. It's a really great angle. So yeah, if anyone's interested, then there's a link. Thanks, Dom. Okay. So next we have Sam. Sam, are you ready? Are you sharing a screen there?
Yep, I'm just about to share my screen now. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming through fine, yeah.
That's good, yeah. I'll just share my screen. I've just got a... Okay, can you see my presentation okay? Is it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So hi, everybody. My name's Sam Burden, and my talk today is why I decided to change career during pandemic. So I just want to give, I suppose, a brief introduction in terms of why I decided to change career and sort of the top level approach of the steps I took. And I hope this talk will resonate with anybody within the audience who's thinking, okay, then I want to change career within this time, but I'm unsure how to do it, or I suppose the reasons why. So I'll just give a brief introduction about myself and current situation. So I've been in marketing for about 4 years now, and I currently work for the airline industry. I've also recently finished a master's degree in data analytics and marketing. As I suppose a popular news at the moment is like the furlough scheme, and I've been on furlough since April 2020. So I suppose during that time when my manager said, oh, we may furlough, there was 2 trains of thought in my head, like, oh yes, I've got 4 months off, yes. And then there was the other side of thing with the doubt of understanding, okay, then I've got 4 months off, but actually, is there any security within my job role after this time? So I was thinking, okay, then understanding what I want to do next within my job role and where I want to go with my life. So that made me, I suppose, ask myself questions surrounding why I want to change careers, because at the moment I know it's a very, I suppose, volatile market in terms of understanding how to change careers. So the first question I asked actually is understanding what is the longevity within my current career choice in the industry. So I suppose in news and popularity, I suppose on trending sites, there is quite a lot of news about the decline in marketing budgets and also decline in the airline industry as a whole. And it made me question, okay, then looking at previous research and understanding, okay, then this might be a dire situation now, and there might be, if I was to be made redundant, as so many have been within the airline industry, where I can go next within my career role. So once that door shut, I kind of thought, okay, then how can I utilize what I've learned so far within my career into starting a new sort of job role, a new ideal career. So I sort of took what I learned from marketing in terms of understanding, okay, that I like talking to the customers, I like doing insights and research and understanding, okay, then I like understanding the market as a whole. And I thought the next step for me would be to become going to use research and experience and design. For me, I've always wanted to do something technology based and also being a bit more empathetic to customers. So that was the first question, thinking actually this is the way I want to go. This is definitely job title one. So the next question is actually, okay, and so I know I want to go into user research and experience design. Does this fit with my current values and interests? So going back to where my current job role is in terms of the airlines and marketing, for me, I'm very much a person that loves creative problem solving. I love being involved with sustainability, and I like being involved with sort of looking at the customer from different viewpoints and actually understanding, okay, then does this problem solve their needs? And my current job role actually doesn't fit where I want to be within my job role itself. And also the airline isn't very sustainable as well. So for me, again, the whole user experience and research design is something that fits with my goals and interests in the long term. There's also that fit, I'm not sure if anybody in the audience resonates this, but there's also that idea of being imposter syndrome in terms of actually feeling I don't really fit within this job role and job spec as I currently am. I feel like that there's only one job role where I have to go up, so becoming a marketing manager or being siloed into like a specialist role like digital marketing. And for me, it doesn't resonate that well in terms of where I want to go with my career. I think it's the whole, if I use user research and design, I feel like I can utilize what I've learned so far with marketing. So the customer insights, understand customer needs, and doing research in terms of understanding the market as a whole, and bringing that to a role where that involves, again, heavily research, but then also focuses on being more empathetic towards the customer and finding out their needs. So I think the final question I kind of asked myself, is this actually the right time to change careers? Because I suppose there's so much uncertainty within the job markets and understanding what's available at the moment, I thought there might be quite a lot of doors closed in terms of trying to change career paths, and my current skill set isn't really up to where I want to go within the next stage. So with user experience design, I could still utilize what I've learned from marketing, but also there's a lot more training I had to do further on. So it's more the time constraints, and I suppose again there's also financial constraints in terms of, okay, I need to retrain, but how I'm going to afford it. On the flip side, there was also the fact that I had to, I suppose, speak to other people and actually feel if I'm not confident in myself in changing career path, then nobody else is going to believe me. So when I was talking to other people, it was kind of that bad feeling of, so why do you want to change career roles during this time? It's a bit dangerous. Are there actually any job roles available? And also there's comments like, well, nagging feeling in my head has answered those questions. And I suppose I got myself, I did a lot of research in terms of understanding what the job role was. The market is available from transitioning from marketing to user experience and design. And I just needed more guidance in terms of understanding where I want to grow. So looking at public speaking and gaining a mentor within that field. So I think as long as you have the reassurance from yourself in terms of making a plan, understanding why you want to change and how you're going to change, it sort of fixates it and makes it, I suppose, more easier to understand why you want to change careers. So summing my talk, I suppose hopefully I've given you more research about understanding the reasons why you can change careers within a pandemic and reassurance of how to do it. Looking at answering the right questions in terms of why you want to change careers and having that solid foundation to say, okay, these are the reasons why, and this is how I'm going to do it. I think the key thing I want people to get away from the talk is the fact that there is never going to be a right time to change careers, whether it's in a pandemic or not pandemic. Just basically, like Nike says, just do it and be able to take away from what you want to do in life and actually implement it into your career change. Thank you very much, and hopefully, yeah, I hope the talk was good. I'm free for any questions.
Great, thank you so much for that, Sam. It's so interesting. It really is on this career change thing, and the fact that it's the pandemic that's kind of led to this this questioning. We see so many people often after redundancy or something like that kind of take these tape something like this to put this question in front of you. So yeah, no, very interesting. Did anyone have any questions for Sam at all?
It wasn't so much a question. I just wanted to absolutely applaud you. I've also changed careers in the pandemic, not even as major as you. So huge kudos to you, and I love your advice of just do it. I think that's really bang on the money, and you're going to go far. Thank you.
I just wanted to agree with Helen, really, and yeah, I just think it's amazing that's like Helen says, such a big career change. But I also want to know now what happens next. So I don't know if that's another talk for you in the future with like part 2. Yeah, be really interesting.
I think so. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Let me know
we do
if
next
you want
time.
to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Dom, Helen. Okay, who have we got next? We've got Luke coming up next on working remotely and how we evolved our ways of working. So Luke, are you, oh, in fact, just before I introduce Luke, just the feedback form again, Dom, if you could just pop that feedback form. Thanks, I know we've had some from Kabir. So yeah, anyone else can drop some feedback, that would be great. But yeah, Luke, I'll hand over to yourself.
Thank you, Barry. I'm just going to share my screen. Share that. Ooh. Okay, this is a nightmare. It's actually telling me I can't share my screen because of system preferences, which is a nightmare. So I'm going to go without the slides. Right, hey everyone, my name is Luke and I am an engineer for Moonpig, and today I'm going to talk to you about working remotely. So, and more specifically about how we've evolved our ways of working. So let me tell you a bit more about my team. We're a high performance engineering team, meaning we have different but complementary skill sets. And the focus is to deliver a better user experience to the customer by iterating on our website whilst maintaining good engineering practices. So in the office, we all sat together, we all sat at desks and we paired or mobbed on everything. We follow a Kanban approach to organising and managing our work. And we organise and improve ourselves by hosting several team ceremonies, including retrospectives, sprint planning sessions, etc., etc. So this is all easy when we're in the office, but when working remotely, simple things such as communication become more difficult. So we had Slack for instant messaging, and we could use Google Meet for meetings, but this didn't fill the place of the ad hoc communication that we had regularly in the office. So to improve our communication, we introduced our team's Town Square. Now, this is a Google Meet or some sort of meeting hangout kind of thing, which we created. We shared the link amongst the team and pinned it to our Slack topic. And it's a video call where we can gather as a team throughout the day to communicate, whether that be for a stand-up or any other meeting, a mobbing session. And we found it really helped to maintain the team's energy levels and that we could all have our normal discussions as we would in the office. It took away that sense of isolation that we got initially when we started working remotely. So to enable us to continue mobbing on tasks, we all installed a plugin for Visual Studio Code, the Live Share plugin. It made it easier to see and type in the same code base. We could share the command line, our local servers, and it was great for helping us to all work together on a common project. And just combined with the Google Meet, the Town Square, we could all communicate and bounce ideas for each other, which really helped keep the collaboration going smoothly. But we often also in the office used a whiteboard to draw up diagrams and discuss ideas, and this helped us plan our work. So to solve this problem remotely, we introduced Mural, which is an interactive whiteboard solution which all happens in the web. And so it enabled us to quickly start doodling together and planning sessions, retrospectives, and even ad hoc when we wanted to brainstorm ideas. So Mural is great because it has quick start templates and third-party integrations. You can quickly set up things like retrospectives and Kanban boards just by selecting a template. And you can really easily also publish things to Jira. We use one of the third-party integrations, which we particularly liked. So using this plugin allowed us to plan stories in Mural, and then we'd export our tickets directly to the Jira board. So all the above is about a lot about working and actually doing things. But what about when you want to take a break? So taking breaks is especially important. They help to keep us energized. However, when working from home, we found it became very difficult to take these breaks. We sort of lost track of time, or we'd feel obliged to carry on working. And by introducing a Pomodoro timer, we found that we managed to strictly work sort of 50 minutes, then take a break for 10 minutes. And it forced us to take those regular breaks, keeping us nice and energized. So after a week or so, this became more natural, and we actually phased out this Pomodoro timer. But something that initially helped us was there's a Pomodoro timer plugin for LiveShare. So we could all view this Pomodoro timer together, and we could all see what was going on with it. So to enable us to make all these changes in our team, we had to implement we had a core concept of trust. We have a lot of trust in our team. We all trust one another, and it makes us feel comfortable in talking to one another, providing feedback to one another, voicing opinions, and reflecting on our ways of working. And this trust allowed us to try new things as a team and helped us evolve our ways of working to this new remote world. So to summarize there, we're not a perfect team. We're constantly improving. And by using this trust and all these other tools that we've introduced, we've evolved our ways of working. We've made ourselves a better team, and we're constantly evolving to this new remote working world. Some of these practices that we introduce work, some of them don't. We just keep trying, and when we reflect after, we often have these little mini retrospectives as a team where we just discuss at the end of the day how we think the day has gone, what we could do better, and so and so. And yeah, so that's what we do as a team. This talk is based on a blog post that I wrote from Moonpig. I'll post the link in the chat in a bit if you're interested. But thank you, and any questions? And sorry, I didn't have any slides there.
Thanks, Luke. Andrew, you got a question there?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, it was a great talk. Thank you, Luke. I loved it that you mentioned the Pomodoro timer, because when as soon as you said that you losing track about the time for relaxing and things like this, it was the first thing that came to my mind. They should use the Pomodoro timer. And I never gave a lightning talk. I'm thinking about giving one, and this is precisely the topic that I'm thinking to talk about, how to use the Pomodoro technique to make the most of your time. Yep. So it was great that you mentioned this, and I found very interesting that you called your talk how we evolved our ways of working, now how we changed it, but evolved it. And from everything that you just said, that's the impression that you gave me, that now you guys are, I don't know if I got this right, but it seems that your communication, your way of working improved. You are working better now that you are remote. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that we're constantly evolving, and we are getting better as a team, even though the change of circumstances and not being in the office anymore, which is really great.
Great. That's the impression that I had as well, working from home now because of the pandemic. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Alexandros, I know you've had your virtual hand up there as well. Did you have something you wanted to add onto that?
Yeah, I have a question. Look, great presentation. Thank you very much. Is there anything that you couldn't actually replace that you're still missing from, when you were all co-located?
So yeah, something that we are struggling to replace is, in the office, you've got like your water cooler or your coffee machine where you'd all go and gather around it and have cross-team conversations, and you'd have some great interesting sort of ideas and conversations around the work. And those cross-team conversations are very difficult to replace. We've tried introducing something more recently called working groups, which is where we can all get together to solve a common problem. But those ad hoc kind of things, we struggle to have as much. So it's more of a thing, you have to reach out to the person now to say, I want to solve this problem, will you come and help me, rather than just having this random conversation at the coffee machine. So I think that's something we do struggle with at the moment.
Cool, thank you. We actually have the same problem, so yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah, us too. The only thing we tried was we tried to do like this kind of secret Santa pairing where you'd group people together onto Zoom calls. But even then, that didn't quite work. So look, if you figure it out, I would love to hear what works.
I'll let you know if I do.
Thank you.
On the subject, we actually have a London CTOs event next Tuesday. It's meant to be for CTOs, but I'm happy to share it with anyone, share the link with anyone if they're interested, with a guy called Brett Putter, who has written a book. It's on the culture gene. He's a real big guy in culture, and he's specifically come to talk about how culture has been affected this year and how to maintain it. So if there's anything that, I'm happy to share either tips or the video afterwards, or if you want to come along or whatever. So just speak to Dom or myself on that. That's Tuesday lunchtime. Again, feedback, if you don't mind. We've had something from CR, from SB and Kabir, so thank you very much for that. But any other feedback on any of the talks so far would be very gratefully received. And who is next in our lineup? We have Kabir coming back for more punishment. Kabir, are you all set there?
Yes. I just had the feedback thing open instead of my slides, but now I'm ready. Desktop. Can you see it, or?
Can see, is that the code?
Oh, right. There, the slides.
That's it. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. Right. So my name's Kabir, and today I'd like to talk about multi-release jars and how they can be a tool for you to support users running on several different Java versions. So say your application is working on, or it's written for Java 8, but you also have customers using Java 11 to run it, and that's fine. Then one day you come across some massive performance improvement using some new library in Java 11, and you want to use this. But at the same time, you want to support the users running on older Java versions, like the Java 8 users. So it'd be pretty lame to make one version for Java 8 and one download for Java 11. You want to kind of keep the same package and then have them download one thing. So this is where multi-release jars come in. So I'll just give you a quick example first of some changes that I introduced in later JDKs. So for example, getting hold of the process ID. In Java 8, this was not supported. There was some kind of hack using this runtime MX bean and parsing the output you could do. And this would work on most JVMs, but not guaranteed to work on all. In Java 9, there's a new process handler class introduced, and this gives you a supported way to get the process ID on all JVMs that are certified. So multi-release jars basically were introduced with Java 9. You can override some classes per version and get sort of use the new stuff or use the old stuff. And you shouldn't extract out your whole app. It's more like implementation details to use kind of the latest APIs. To use this, you need to adjust your build, and I'll talk you through the structure of a multi-release jar. So here we have a jar file with a few classes, all compiled with Java 8, sitting in the root of the jar. This PID util class contains the example Java 8 code that we saw earlier to get the process ID. So until now, there's nothing special. Then to turn on this multi-release functionality, you set this multi-release true manifest header in the jar. And then when running on Java 9 or later, this makes it understand this version subdirectory of the jar. So in here, we have a new version of PID util for Java 9. And we're overriding a class in Java 9. Also in Java 11, we're overriding a class again. So if we were running this on Java 11, we'd basically use A from the 11 folder, PID util from the 9 folder, and the rest of the classes from the base folders to get the Java 8 versions. And to use any of the classes, like even if they're overridden or not, we just instantiate them the normal way. And the Java runtime will take care of loading the correct one. So now we have a quick demo. So I have this PID util class with a method with the Java 8 code we saw using this runtime MXBean. Then I have an additional source folder called Java 9. And in here, we have the same class, but using the Java 9 version of the code we saw. Then just a little main method, which basically instantiates the class, calls it, and outputs the process ID. In our POM, we basically compile the normal stuff with Java 8. We use the recent version of the compiler plugin. And then we have a profile, which is turned on if we're running on Java 9 or later. Now in this profile, if we're running on Java 9, it sets this multi-release true header in the jar plugin. It adds or sets the Java 9 source folder as the folder we should be compiling. And then some properties which redirect these classes to the metaint versions 9 subfolder. So now if we try to build this, I'm using Java 11. So we can see the default compile outputs to the standard target classes directory. Then this new execution we added for the Java 9 profile outputs this metaint versions 9 folder. So if I run this, I'm using Java 11, I get the Java 9 version of the PID util code. Now I'll switch to Java 8, and I get the Java 8 version. So to wrap up, multi-release jars help you support several Java versions in your code by extracting out parts of your code to take advantage of later things or things which have been replaced. You need to adjust your build. And what I showed you was quite basic. It gets more complicated when you add things like testing and supporting Java 10, 11, 12, and so on. So the recommended practice is to have a parent POM that for your organization and to use this for projects within your company. And my Maven repo here basically has links to the demo we just saw, some background information that I looked up to put this together, and some parent POMs that we use at Red Hat to enable this functionality and examples of the usage. So thank you, and hope it was interesting.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Kabir. Appreciate that. I can't really add any value or sensible questions unfortunately, on the tech side of that. But does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any thoughts on that or anything they wanted to ask Kabir?
I do have a question, Kabir. Thank you. It was a nice talk. Does this stuff work with dependency injection in Spring as well?
That's a good question. Yes, it should, because although you should really extract out more implementation detail stuff, I think you should still also be able to replace the whole bean, because whatever gets loaded is the class that's the most recent in this hierarchy. So Although I'm not
Okay.
100% sure, I believe that would be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carsten. Thanks, Kabir. Appreciate that. Okay, for our final talk of the afternoon, then we have Anirban. Anirban, are you there? Are you out there?
Yes.
You are. Okay, good. You're a co-host, aren't you? So you should be all set. Are you sharing screen, doing slides?
Yes. So share screen. Yes. Okay, but this is actually sharing a particular application, but not okay. Desktop. Yeah. Yes, I'm able to share my screen. Sorry, able to see my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, so let me open that. Okay, sorry. Yes, thank you all. Actually, I'm Anirban. I am the lead engineer of IBM. So that is my fourth talk in LGC. And so today, a couple of speakers actually speak very, very diverse, different, interesting topic. I thought of like my topic would be a little bit different, a little bit boring, but anyway, I'm not odd man out because the last speaker actually Kabir also speak about technical things. So it is core technical as well. So yeah, so it's Selenoid, a cross-browser Selenium solution for Docker. So actually, I want to share my knowledge of Selenoid because recently we have developed it in our banking project. So this is pretty useful, and everyone knows that the automation testing is a key area of any testing competency in any of the organization. And the cross-browser testing is very, very important because today's world, the application should be supported by multiple devices, multiple browsers. So this is very important. And what is Selenoid? So it's an open source automated cross-browser testing framework. It is developed by Golang, pretty lightweight, and it is developed on top of Selenium Hub code. So what we have been using for ages. So some of the very useful features of this Selenoid is this is lightning fast, very fast, and easy installation. It has a modern UI so that you can end-to-end track the whole process of testing, the UI testing mainly, and it is cluster ready. And also it supports the most common browsers nowadays. So let's see how the Selenium Hub works, because the Selenoid has been based on that. So it's a pretty simplistic view. This particular picture has been taken from HackerNoon. I have also given the link of it at the final page. So Selenium server use the WebDriver binary. So WebDriver binary, actually the driver which is associated with a browser, closely associated with. So for Chrome, there is a different WebDriver which is written in Java to support the Chrome browser. And Selenium Hub has been made with hubs and worker nodes. So hub, you can imagine it's a master node, and the worker nodes are the machines with different operating systems, or the operating system which support different type of browsers. So to test the cross-browser functionality, we need to have that functionality, because every browser is not supported by all the operating system. But the problem is that it's pretty slow. So my experience says actually in our environment, it is implemented in a cloud-based approach, but it's very slow. Secondly, the maintaining different browser version in a single worker node, so that's a very big problem, because in a single worker node, we have to maintain different browser versions, and our testing test script would be such that it will point to a particular browser version where we intended to test. So this is a big problem. And some of the worker node, for example, we have we can spin up some worker nodes, and the worker nodes operating system does not support a specific type of browser. The solution would be like a containerized approach. That's I'm just going to discuss. So the containerized approach, actually, the open source tool available for this containerized approach could be followed, which is actually the Selenoid. So the process is something like that. So start the Selenoid hub. So the hub actually we have discussed. Now the hub is available as a Docker image with the appropriate browser. So at first, what Docker will do, we need to define the Docker compose file, run execute Docker code, and so that Docker engine will use the Docker compose file and create the Selenoid server, which is actually the Selenium server or grid, similar to that. I have given a localhost name because I want to demonstrate it if I have time. And secondly, the Selenoid UI. So this is used to track the end-to-end testing. So when the Docker will generate Selenium Hub and Selenium UI, then any client code, that is actually the client code, actually we have written some of the test cases we want to execute in different browser. So we just refer to the Selenoid hub and specify what kind of browser instance we want to run on it. So next, what will be done, the Selenoid will take help of Docker and pull that corresponding image from the Docker hub or the image store. It's really important because we no need to maintain different machines installed with different browser version. So based on our requirement, the Selenoid engine, but with using of the Docker, it will pull the corresponding image, and next it will start the image, and it will start the image means it will create a container and start the container. Now all the testing, whatever we have written in the client cross-browser test area, so those testing will be proxied to the, that means this server will proxy those requests actually to the container. Container will do fantastic things like it will execute the test steps on those browsers, save the result, take a screenshot or record the video, whatever you like. So sometimes we found that in case of our actual scenario, product owner or the management, they want to see that the test result. So Selenoid does it for us. It will save that result, and after that stop the container. So throughout the whole process, you will get the Selenoid UI to get the results. So that is actually how the Selenoid works. Yeah, I'm just showing the reference. Two references very important. I took the example from the hackathon, and the second link, Aerocube, actually, who has invented the Selenoid one. So that their link, so we can go through it and just have a look at it. So as a summary, so I would say like how to scalable worker nodes with the required browser to support cross-browser testing. So we need to scale it, how we can scale it. Secondly, why the container-based approach is recommended, that answered the questions, because the container is completely separate, and the container can run with a specific browser version. And after running the container just exits. So there won't be any cleanup activity required after that. So which ready to use, lightweight and efficient open source tool exists? I would say like Selenoid, which is developed by Golang. It is pretty lightweight and efficient. How Selenoid with Docker can be my preferred open source tool to quickly set up Selenoid Hub and perform cross-browser testing. Yeah, so actually my experience is like we can use SOSLab or maybe another virtualization software, but then we need to just spin up a different virtual machine, and we need to maintain the software, as well as we need to check that the operating system is compatible with the browser version or not, so that we no need to take care. Even the Java virtual machine and JRE, those things may no need to be installed. And actually I'm nearly just finishing 5 minutes. So anyway, quick demo. I won't able to give the demo, but I'll quickly show how it works. So just have a look at it. It is actually a code I have written. I have set up a local Selenium server here, which is running on my local machine. I just define a Chrome browser automation here, and put like LVNC on. That means the video recording will be on. And after that, from the testing, I'm just connecting to the server and just trying to open the DuckDuckGo site and try to search something. So if I look at the Selenium UI, then their Selenium UI, you will find out that it has like different capabilities, how we can use it for the different browser. The code will automatically generated for us. The stats will show where it will run, how it will look like, and ultimately the video recording has already been done. So if I run it, so you will look at like the whole process, how it is opening the website and it is running. So that's it actually from my side. Does anyone have any questions? Just ask me. And yeah, this is actually the website for a quick start guide for the Selenium, Selenoid. It's pretty easy just to copy those DLL, run it, start it, run the Selenoid, run the UI, and then you can just use it. Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Anirban. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's amazing how quickly those 7 minutes fly by, isn't it? With these presentations.
Yeah. So how many minutes gone? Very actually, I have not counted. So
just a few over. Just a few
okay,
over.
Okay,
over
fine,
7.
thank you.
Does anyone have any questions at all for Anirban on that?
So I had one. So you mentioned about the UI and being able to view the test results and the passes and failings.
Yeah.
Does that reporting integrate with continuous integration pipelines in your experience, or is that something separate?
Yeah. You can do that. You can do that because the UI, the web UI, actually you can view the overall process. Again, it is stored, all the video and the screenshot, whatever, and the log as well. If you configure it to a particular folder, it will be stored. And as a continuous integration process, you can pull those data and email it automatically to the intended recipient. Yeah, you can do that.
Or fail the build or whatever you want to do. Okay, cool, nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Very on mute.
Every time. Thank you, everyone. Then that brings a close to the first part of this, to the individual speakers. Thanks to everyone that's given feedback, and obviously everyone that's spoken. Really appreciate it. Hope you've all enjoyed that part of it. And we are now moving over to the second part. So you're welcome, if that was what you came for, you're welcome to log off at this point. But what we've got lined up now is a quick Q&A with Richard Warburton. So this came about as something that we started doing about a month ago, or maybe 6 weeks now. Trisha G's idea to almost to tag something onto the back end of these lightning talks to kind of answer some questions. And it's been going down very, very well. So we've had Trish, we've had Steve Poole, Jim Goff, Martin Verberg, Simon Maple, and now we have another legend of the LJC, Richard Warburton. So for those that don't know Richard as well, I've known Richard for maybe 10 years, I think now. He is a conference veteran who gave some of his early presentations to the LJC. He's spoken at many Java conferences, including JavaOne, DevoxxUK, and JAX London, amongst many others. So if you've got any questions there, and I would invite you to jump out, ask your questions, you can put them on the chat or just unmute your microphone and ask Richard, because he's prepared to answer anything, he's told me. So I will start. Richard, do you have any thoughts or general advice for our speakers of today? Anything at all that you would recommend or that you'd like to share?
Well, I was going to say, firstly, just trying to do it more often. It's really good, I think, for me and for other people in terms of career progress, in terms of opportunities. I've written 2 books with O'Reilly. That would have never happened without speaking at conferences. I ran training courses for a while throughout Europe. That would have never happened without speaking at conferences. I run a business called Option. I don't think there was any chance that would have had any chance of success without the ability to go out there and do some kind of public speaking and marketing in that respect. So, you know, even if you don't start off with the best talks to begin with, I think, you know, like everything in life, when you first try and do it, it's not so strong. But just kind of keep practicing and keep going, and you'll find that you'll probably get a lot of positive results in terms of your kind of career and career opportunities.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that with so many people. It really does snowball over time. You get going. In fact, we had Venkat on a few weeks ago talking, and he was talking about how he says even now, and he is like one of the greats. And he was saying about how when he first gives a presentation, he knows it's going to be rubbish, and so he has to do 2 or 3 before he gets it any good. It's, you know, no matter who you are, then this doing things over and over again seems to be the advice that keeps coming back.
I mean, I've spoken to him before, and I think he said for most of his conference talks, he ends up doing them around 100 to 150 times before retiring those conference talks. I mean, that's probably more than most people would do, but like that's an example of how much kind of practice there is in getting things. But he's obviously super strong, like very, very positive reviews.
Interesting. Okay, so does anyone have any questions then to throw at Richard?
Yeah, I have one. Richard, what was it that made you give your first talk? Did somebody persuade you? I've heard that's quite common in the LJC. Or was there a moment that made you think, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, that's a question. I think it was Jim Goff, to be honest. We were working on helping the Java date and time API be kind of improved or finalized for Java 8. And we decided that we would try and encourage some other people to help us in that effort. So we tried to give a talk at the LJC Unconference. And we ended up giving a similar kind of talks on that API at a few conferences. But yeah, so it was definitely Jim who, I can't remember whether he suggested it to me or not, but I'm sure it was him who in some way roped me into doing it to begin with. And yeah, and the kind of motivation was to try and get more people helping this open source project. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I can't believe how many people we've had on, Barry, who have said almost the same thing, where somebody roped them in for giving their first talk.
Roped, pushed, bullied,
yeah.
You know, all these kind of things. In fact, Carly, didn't Jim have a hand in you being with us?
Yeah, he did. So Richard's been in the exact same boat. I work in the same company as Jim, and he introduced me to the LJC to start with and kind of politely pushed me along. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And now doing conferences, right? Now you've done your first conference.
One down, yeah. It was fun. It was really exciting.
Yeah. For some reason, it does seem to be, I think it's just a hard step to take that first one. And then when you do it, you kind of get a bit, you know, involved. In fact, is Helen still with us? Helen could probably talk about Trisha's.
Yeah.
Gentle.
I'm another one that's been
nudged,
gently encouraged. Let's call it that.
Yeah, it's a good way to get started. If you're lucky enough to have a mentor or an irritating recruiter type that will push you into doing this kind of stuff, then it can make the difference.
Yeah, that happened too, didn't it, Barry?
Might have done. Any other questions? Any other questions then for Richard at all?
Yes, Barry, I have a question for Richard. Actually, I'm free within time. So if it is a 5-minute talk, then I thought like, okay, if it would be 15 minutes, then I'd complete everything. But when I'll get 15 minutes, then again it is over. So how to manage time properly? How I can practice?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's my question. So how to practice, some tips to manage the time?
Yeah, it's really a question. So I think there's a few different things. Like after you've given enough talks, I think you get a really good kind of indication or a gut feel on these things. So more practice definitely helps. What I would say is whenever I give a talk, before I do it at an actual venue in front of other people, I do a couple of practice runs at home. Some people do loads and loads of practice runs. I don't tend to do loads, but I tend to do a few. And what I'll do is I'll take each talk and put kind of key markers in the talk, like each section within the talk or each kind of key point, and say, I need to be at this stage in 15 minutes, this stage at 30 minutes, this stage at 45 minutes. and put a note in the author's notes section on the slides as I'm prepping them. And then in the practice run, I look, am I hitting this or am I not hitting this? If you're not hitting this, it's not necessarily the end of the problem. Like, it's not the end of the world. You may find that a later bit takes longer and an earlier bit takes shorter, and it adds up to the same time. So you can adjust those numbers. But then what I do is when I actually run through the talk, I memorize. You can't memorize where you want to be on every slide, but you can definitely remember like 5 points or 3 points in the talk. And then you know where you should be in the time and where you actually are in the talk. And then you know whether you're ahead or behind on where you're going. And then once you've done that, you know whether the later points in your talk you need to speed up a little bit or slow down a bit. So that's like from a kind of monitoring point of view on the talk. And the other thing is, like, in terms of the way you structure the talk, it's always good to have what's known as like expansion junctions within talks. So like bits of the talk where you can go longer or slower depending upon where you are. And it's also good because you might find that you want to produce one talk and then have it fit into like a 45-minute time slot at one conference, an hour somewhere else, or maybe you're going to go and deliver it internally at a company and they'll be like, hey, you got an hour and a half or something like that there. So the ability to take the same basic talk structure and kind of fudge its length by, you know, say 20-30% is super useful, super practical for making the most out of those kind of talks. So yeah, so expansion junctions and kind of monitoring where you are and knowing where you should be at key points.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
We do see time management is one of the common challenges that new speakers face, and everyone faces it slightly differently. So some people practice and do it in 7 minutes and then give it, and they're done in 4 because they just shot through it. Other people, you know, get involved and get talking about something and say things. They think, oh, this would be an interesting thing that I've only just thought about adding to the talk, and that kind of thing, and it goes longer. Steve Pool's given hundreds of workshops where he's talked about it internally at IBM, and he says the same thing. Like it's one of those things that is very difficult to get right until you start actually speaking live and you see it done. But yeah, some great advice on how to actually do it.
I think there's one more thing that's probably worth noting, which is if you're speaking at an actual conference, the worst thing is, or not the worst thing, but a very bad thing to do is to run over time, because that messes up the schedule, that impacts other speakers. So people are often worried about coming exactly in on time. It probably doesn't matter if you finish 10 minutes early in that kind of environment. Like maybe you'd have had an opportunity to say more, but it's not the end of the world. But going over is much more of a no-no than going under in that environment, I would say.
Sounds like every single LJC unconference that we've ever run. Okay, I'd be interested to hear from people that haven't spoken here. Leon, I see you're up on camera. Would you mind any thoughts from yourself on what this what this looks like, what the initiative is, and whether it's something that might appeal to you at some point in the future at all?
I think it's a brilliant idea, actually. I love what you're doing, giving anyone opportunities to actually get out and talk. I mean, I was quite lucky. I was cajoled into doing workshops a few years back at the SPA conference at the BCS do. So that was really me getting my feet wet in public speaking. So yeah, opportunities like this are fantastic. And I encourage everyone to look at meetup groups on Meetup as well, because a lot of them are crying out for people just to come up and give a 10-minute talk. So I think anybody here, the talks you gave today were great. I think anyone would be crying out for talks of this quality to actually go to meetup groups. So yeah. So well done. Really good.
I do have one other question, in fact, Richard, for you. If anyone else has got any, feel free to chuck them on the general chat there, or again unmute and just ask Richard. But I do have one other question that comes up from time to time, and that is how to judge an audience. So say you want to speak to the LJC and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I might give a lightning talk, but I'm not sure. What would they be interested in? Obviously, you see today we've had this ridiculously diverse range of topics, some very technical and some much more sort of personal. How do you judge an audience, and how do you feel comfortable that you can either write content you know what they want, or you can write content that they will find interesting?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think there's a few different aspects to that. Firstly, do your research. Like any event that is been around for a while will have past talks that you can see online, looking at their their meetup page if it's a JUG, or you can often, even if they've replaced the latest year's edition for a conference, then you can normally Google for, like, say, JAX London 2019 or DevoxxUK 2019 or something like that, and you can often get a list of their talks. A lot of places publish talks on YouTube, so you can go and have a look on YouTube channels to see old versions, and that gives you a feel of the kind of thing that people have done beforehand at those venues, and that gives you a feeling of what to look for. The other thing is as well, a lot of places are quite kind of explicit in terms of what they are looking for, say, conference programs. So they'll have categories, and making sure that you submit your talk to the right category will kind of determine your audience there. But also making sure that your talk fits into the right category is going to really help improve your chance of a proposal being accepted. I've sat on a few conference program committees beforehand. Loads of talks are just like obviously in the wrong category, and it's a waste of time for people who are reviewing them, because you're just like, well, I can't give a slot to this. It's just not the right thing for my track. I keep on saying category, I should say track, for my track. And it's a waste of time for the submitter as well, because they put the effort into writing the title and the abstract and probably a talk, and then they're not going to get accepted because it's in the wrong track. So making sure that you fit the right track, and making sure that you fit user groups are a bit of a different thing because they don't have a track category thing often, but you can kind of tell from the name of the user group what it's about and their meetup page, and again what's there historically. If you can visit or see prior talks, well, that gives you a good feel. There's another aspect of this which I'd say is perhaps more relevant if you do more kind of international talks, which is sort of, there does tend to be a bit of a difference culturally between different areas in terms of receiving talks, but I'd say that's a lot more audience feedback, like you find if you go and give a talk in kind of Scandinavian countries like Norway, Sweden, etc. Often the feedback you get from audiences is much quieter, and that's just a sort of reflection on the general kind of the cultural norms within different societies. As to how that impacts your material you'll get right for the audience, I mean, I guess that's more of a kind of adjusting the feedback when you kind of are delivering a talk, that you're aware that you might not get as many people laughing at a joke. That doesn't mean people don't find it funny necessarily. It just means that some people are less likely to laugh out loud.
I'm interested, I think, because like a lot of people say, oh, what kind of thing do they like at the LJC? I mean, we organise talks, people come. So I'm like, everything. Like we never get like a talk that we organise that no one comes to. We never get like a talk where we've had feedback where this was pointless, what a waste of my time. But I still don't quite know how to answer the question, what kind of talks do people like? And so it's interesting. I quite like this idea of looking if you were looking at a conference, looking at what came before. But I'm also just wondering if there's room for some kind of poll of some kind out there where you could be like, right, here are 4 talks I'm thinking about, which do you like? And just trying to see which one kind of comes first. And
polling people can be quite hard, I think, Barry, because often people give you answers which are what they like the idea of and not necessarily attending. I suspect you might find a more useful way of gathering data on this is looking at past talks in the LJC and seeing what people actually did attend. I don't know if you have stats on the Zoom stuff, but on the old event things, people used to sign up. And
we could do that. We could catch that.
Yeah, I could tell you now. I could tell you now the popular ones, the ones, the highly attended ones, definitely.
That's a really good shout. I think we should do that, Dom. I think we should start doing something, because I'm sure most of the meetup groups are public. They have their past events public. I wonder if that would be just an interesting kind of exercise to start seeing, okay, what have people attended? No, that's a really good idea. I like that.
I was going to say, it's also hard because some people go to hear someone speak and some people go to hear a talk about a topic. and depending upon who, you know, whether the draw is the who or the what, can influence those numbers as well.
Brilliant. Richard, that's it from me. I don't think we've got any other questions come through on the chat, so I'm gonna say thank you to everyone for signing in. Is there somewhere people can find you, Richard, if they need to? I suppose Google would probably be.
Yeah, I mean, on Twitter at Richard Warburton, and richard.warburton@gmail.com if you want to send me an email as well.
Brilliant.
Richard's actually speaking to the LJC on the 29th of October. In the evening. If you'd like to come along, I'll be announcing it next week. So sign up if you'd like to see the man in action.
The man in action. What is it, Dom?
The date or the talk or both?
The talk, what's the title?
It is No Free Lunch Memory Allocation in the JVM at 7 p.m. on the 29th of October, which is a Thursday. And same day at lunchtime, we have Venkat for a Q&A at the aspiring speakers. So I feel like the 29th of October is going to be the best day. So sign up for both.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, everyone. And I hope you've all enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.
Nice to speak to you. Bye.
Bye.